struggles? Are you addicted to the feeling of trying and trying, but never actually succeeding? Has that become your status quo, where all you do is pound the pavement, trying and trying your ass off to reach that higher level, but never actually getting there? Okay, and then just getting up the next day and pounding the pavement again. Okay, because if you're doing that, you have become addicted to your struggle. And it's very easy when that's all you've known. Okay, they have a saying that the rich get richer while the poor get poorer. The reason why they have that saying is because when you're rich, when you're winning at life, it's very easy to keep winning at life. Whereas when you're failing at life, it's very easy to keep failing at life, right? Because that is your reality. That's all you know. And in order to push past that, in order to reverse your downward spiral and create an upward spiral towards success, okay, it's going to take first recognizing that you've become addicted to your struggle. You've become addicted to the feeling of trying and trying, but never actually succeeding. And second, you're going to need to make some changes in your habits, because it always boils back to your habits, guys. If you look at people who are very successful versus people who are not successful, basically guys who are failures, okay, really the main difference you're going to notice with the two types of guys is their habits, right? Where a successful guy will have much better habits than a guy who is failing. Successful guy, he'll have a cleaner diet, right? He'll have a better sleeping pattern, where he'll probably be sleeping the full 8 hours, whereas the guy who's failing won't. Okay, the guy who's successful will have a lot more mental discipline, a lot more mental maturity, where a guy who's failing won't, right? The guy who's failing might throw temper tantrums from time to time, might not be able to control his emotional state, might not be the best at communicating how he feels to other people, whereas the successful guy is. Okay? The successful guy, he doesn't get caught up in the little petty nuances of life, right? If there's like a little road rage or a little traffic incident, it's not really going to bother him. He's not really going to pay much mind to it because he has better things to do. Whereas the guy who's failing, that's going to be his focus of the day. He's actually going to go home and tell everyone about it, right? He's going to be like, this dude in traffic tried to mouth off to me and blah, blah, blah. And he'll ramble on about this for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and he'll think about it for weeks. Whereas a successful guy, as soon as it's done, he's already forgotten about it, right? There's a reason why that guy's successful, okay? Because he has different habits. That's all it is. He has different habits, different belief patterns. He has a different way of living. Okay, same thing with a guy who's struggling. Guy who's struggling, unfortunately, which is most guys out there, because most guys are in that coping stage, right? There are 3 stages that every man goes through in life, which is number 1, the failing stage. Number 2, the coping stage, which unfortunately, again, that's the stage that most men get stuck at. And then finally, number 3, the thriving stage, which unfortunately very few men reach, right? Where you're just winning at life. And then the more you win at life, the easier it becomes to keep winning, right? It just becomes easier and easier. Because that becomes your new status quo. That becomes your new reality. You're just used to that, right? It's like when I get guys on boot camp. I've had guys come on my boot camp who are better looking than me, younger than me, yet they're dating women that are like 5, 6s. And I'm like, why are you doing that? And they're like, well, that's what I'm used to. I've never dated a woman better looking than this, and I'm like, you need to raise the bar, right? And the way that we're going to raise the bar is by changing your status quo. Okay, your status quo is no longer going to be 4s and 5s. Your status quo now is going to be 8s, 9s, and 10s. That's what I try to bang into my students' heads. 8s, 9s, and 10s. Because even if that's your status quo and say you don't get the 9 or 10, you'll still raise the bar, right? You'll still get yourself at least a 7 or an 8, right? You won't be settling for these 5s and 6s anymore, or these 4s, 5s, and 6s. Right? There's no need to. There's no need to. But just as an example, that's a situation where I get a lot of guys on boot camp who are like, that's all I'm used to. that's all I've ever been able to get before. And it's like, yeah, you know why that's all you've ever gotten before? Is because that's all you've looked for. That's all you've thought you were worth. You know, and a lot of it goes back to that. What do you think you're worth? Right? What do you think you're worth? Perception is reality. To act like a king, if you want people to treat you like a king, you must act like a king. You must believe that you are a king inside. You must feel entitled to a better life for yourself, and not this repetitious cycle of struggling that you've let yourself get caught up with, that you've let your life define as the new norm. Like for me personally, there was a time where, you know, I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood, right? I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood, and that was just reality for me. I'm like, okay, if I could duplicate this, you know, with my adult life, when I grow up one day and have a wife and kids, this is good enough for me, right? That was my reality, so I kept looking for that, right? I kept looking to fulfill that type of reality, and it wasn't until I met a few mentors who were successful that I saw a whole new reality. I was like, whoa, that's possible? Like, yeah, man, just build a business. They would like talk to me like that, like it was like no big deal. I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah, just build a business, you'll be fine. You know, you could live in a nicer neighborhood, get a hotter girlfriend, you know, drive nicer cars. You don't have to worry about money. You know, it was like a whole new shift. It was like a paradigm shift, because I was always taught like, hey, go to school, right? Get good grades, then you'll get a great job, and then you'll be able to afford those nice things. So it's like the system is basically set up to make sure that you struggle as a man so that you don't thrive. Because if you look at most schools today, right, most schools, they don't teach business, they don't teach you about money, they don't even teach you about how to handle your money. They don't teach you about taxes, tax loopholes, they don't teach you about how to build a business, they don't teach you about entrepreneurship, they don't teach you about any of this stuff. It's pathetic, right? It's pathetic. Yet here are these schools pushing things like, oh, you know, here's books on transgenders, and you know, parents who are two dads and two moms. And it's like, dude, these kids need to learn, like, you know, before you indoctrinate them, how about you teach them some life skills, right? So our schools and basically society is set up to make sure that you struggle. Because even when you go out and you try to get off the beaten path, right? You try to get off the beaten path and say you want to build a business, people are going to, you know, people in your life are going to be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, just stay at your job, right? I've had that happen to me when I started building my business. I mean, my parents were all like, just go get a job, just get a job, right? I have friends of mine who are like multi-millionaires, and their parents are still like, hey, what if the business goes under? You know, shouldn't you be worried about getting a job? And it's like, wow, you know, it's just, and you can't really blame like family members or friends who are worried about you, because they're so used to basically the social narrative, the beaten path, right? Again, go to school, get good grades, and then get out and get a great job, which is, you guys know, is horseshit, especially these days. Doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Even back when I was in college, that whole model was crumbling. I didn't believe in it. By the time I was in college, which was already like the early 90s, right? Before the internet, before all this, I was already building my own businesses, right? A lot of them failed, but a few succeeded. And I was able to support myself, and I didn't really have to take like a real job, so to speak, right? At times I took employment. I think I had like 3 jobs throughout the 90s that I got fired from, and I just didn't care. One of them was Macy's, where I was selling women's shoes. I've mentioned this before, Union Square, downtown San Francisco. I sold women's shoes in the juniors department. Learned a lot about women, worked there for a couple of years. And I remember, even at that job, I was actually making pretty good money for being, I think I was like 21, 22. I was in college. I was making pretty good money. And my coworkers, there were some guys who had been there like 20, 25 years. And I was like, wow. And I remember going, okay, is this it though? You know, so we have to show up, should we have to show up here every single day for like 8 hours? And they're like, yeah, that's life. And I'm like, really? You know, and fortunately I was able to meet some business mentors who had a completely different lifestyle where, you know, they had their own businesses and they were a lot more successful, right? They were living in better neighborhoods, they were driving nicer cars, and they had a completely different mindset that I gravitated towards, right? I was like, you know, I just don't want to work for the rest of my life. I don't want to be addicted to struggling. And a lot of the guys I was working with, by the way, even at Macy's, these guys like paycheck to paycheck to pay their mortgage, to pay their rent, to pay their bills. And I was like, I don't want to do that. You know, and it took me a long, long time to get beyond that, by the way, okay? It took a long time to overcome my own struggles and my own mental demons to the point where I gained enough mental discipline and mental maturity to actually build a business that was successful and sustainable and continuing to grow, right? Where I was able to like surpass an income level that I never thought I could do previously. I mean, put it this way, I make more than surgeons do. All right, crazy, right? I'm a pickup coach. I make more than surgeons do, right? If I went to school to be a surgeon, I would have been in school for like 15 years. I make more than them. Insane, hard to believe, right? Crazy. Entrepreneurship, that's the way. But if you want to become successful in life, you have to get off that beaten path, okay? Otherwise, you're just going to be coping with life. You're just going to keep struggling and struggling. You're going to become addicted to your struggle, okay? And this doesn't only go for money. This also goes for, say, your health. I know a lot of people, you've probably seen these guys too, where you might be at your gym, right? Dudes at your gym, they might be in phenomenal shape for a short period of time, and then you see them like 6 months later, a couple of years later, and then they're fat again. And you're just like, what happened to this dude? Right? I had a wingman like that where his weight would just yo-yo up and down. It's like, you know, one day, like 1 month I would see him, he'd be thin, looking kick-ass, right? He'd be looking shredded. And then I'd see him like a year later, and all of a sudden he's like fat and out of shape. And I'm like, what's going on, man? Why can't you maintain? He's like, I don't know, dude. I keep trying. I go to the gym all the time. It's like, dude, you're addicted to your struggle. You become addicted to your struggle. Even with diet, especially with diet, you know, where you see people just kind of yo-yoing with their weight. It's because they become addicted to that struggle, right? Especially if you've had eating disorders from childhood. And I had those too, because I grew up, you know, eating bad food. So that was my reality. And it took a long time to fix that. It took a long time. And luckily I played sports a lot. So sports kept me in shape. But I noticed once I stopped playing sports, I put on a bunch of weight, right? And luckily I was able to identify what I was doing wrong. You know, I was like going to the gym, I'd like work out like crazy. And then I would go to like Taco Bell after. I would go pound the Jack in the Box. You know, and it was just a lot of bad habits that I had to change. So even struggling with your weight, it goes back to your habits, okay? It goes back to where your bar is. What is your status quo? I mean, if your status quo involves allowing yourself to have Jack in the Box, Taco Bell, nachos at 2 in the morning, right? If that's your status quo, then guess what? You're never gonna get in great shape, okay? In order to get in great shape, your status quo needs to be no carbs, no sugar, clean diet, gotta knock off the Taco Bell, Jack in the Box, McDonald's, you know, 5 times per week. Maybe just cut it down to like 1 time per week. Because if you wanna get in phenomenal shape, you have to change your status quo, okay? You have to change what you're willing to accept in your diet. Right? Because it's not going to change otherwise. They have so many of these pills and like supplements you can take. They're all bullshit. Okay? They are all bullshit. They're not going to help you. Even with the keto stuff, right? I see a lot of these Atkins bars. I see a lot of these keto bars, low carb, low sugar. And really a lot of these keto companies have just become, even Atkins, they've just become like a candy store, right? That's all they are. It's just like a candy store now. And if you want to get in phenomenal shape, you just have to stay away from all of that stuff. Hate to say it. A buddy of mine, one time we did what's called a perfection challenge, where we went like 90 days, like no break, like no garbage food, right? We just ate clean, ate healthy for like 90 days straight. And we both got in just like insanely phenomenal shape. And if you want to get even close to getting in great shape, you kind of have to do the same, where you have to do like a perfection challenge on yourself, at least as far as your eating goes, right? Where you're eating clean and you're not consuming all this junk and all of this garbage. Otherwise, like most people, you're just gonna keep going to the gym, right? You see these people at the gym, especially after the weekend, like every Monday after work, because I used to be a personal trainer at one point, believe it or not. And the gym, the busiest time is after the weekend on a Monday, when everyone gets off work. So from 5 to 7 p.m., that's the busiest time where you see everybody's there, right? People are having to wait for the cardio machines, right? So these people spend all week hitting it hard at the gym, right? They go hard at the gym, yet as soon as they're done with the gym, they go right over to Jack in the Crack or McDonald's or Carl's Jr., right? And they pound the French fries, pound the hamburgers, pound the onion rings. Then they're frustrated that they can't like get six-pack abs, right? You can't do that because you're just gonna keep going in circles. Okay, it doesn't work that way. You have to change your status quo, what you're willing to accept for yourself. And this goes for your business life, your career, your finances, your dating life, and your health, your diet. Okay, so if you're addicted to your struggle now, it's because that has become your reality. Just trying and trying, but never succeeding, never actually winning, right? Never knowing what that feeling is like. That's why it's so easy to keep winning once you're already winning, because you're already used to the feeling. It's familiar. You know what it feels like, and you will accept no less than that. Whereas when you're just coping and you're struggling with life, that becomes your reality, and that becomes what you're familiar with. That becomes all you've ever known. That becomes what you're used to. So you stay there. And in order to push beyond that, you have to change the status quo. You have to raise the bar. Okay, you have to change your habits. And that's how you stop living your life addicted to struggling. And instead, you get beyond that coping stage and you start thriving at life, where you get a taste of what it's like to win, and you want more of it, and you keep winning, and that becomes your new status quo. That becomes your new reality. That becomes your world, what you become used to. So I'm gonna wrap up here. Until next time, this is Matt Cross from Alpha Male Secrets. Don't forget to smash that like button below. Also, hit that notification bell right next to it so that you are notified whenever I release a brand new coaching video to YouTube. More importantly, guys, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Too many of you guys are still unsubscribed to my channel. Okay, that means you're not getting my coaching videos fresh as I upload them. Instead, you're getting them weeks later, even months later. So you want to make sure you subscribe to my channel as well. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. I really appreciate it if you subscribe. It really helps me out a ton, guys. So please make sure you subscribe to my channel. And for you guys who want to support my work and all of this red pill knowledge I'm teaching guys here even further, the best way to do that is by becoming a premium subscriber of my premium Alpha Male Secrets channel, which I am hosting on a private platform away from YouTube. Now, why am I doing that? The reason why I'm doing that is because I am trying to protect my premium content. Okay, I'm trying to protect it from being demonetized, from being shut down. So I'm hosting my premium Alpha Male Secrets channel on a private platform away from YouTube. And if you want to join, it's only $1 for the entire first month of coaching lessons. And these are lessons that you were never taught in schools, okay, by parents, teachers, society. They all fail to teach us these lessons. But you are going to be learning them on my premium Alpha Male Secrets channel. We are going to be talking about fitness, money, investing, real estate. We're We're going to be talking about how to become the best version of yourself, how to become a strong, real alpha male in today's highly feminized, highly emasculated, anti-male world, okay? Because we're living in different times, obviously. A lot of these feminists have indoctrinated half the planet into thinking that men are toxic, right? Toxic masculinity. And it takes some training, right? It takes some training, it takes some knowledge in order to be able to go out there and just be a strong man, a strong alpha male. Okay, where you are not afraid to be who you are. Where you no longer have to filter yourself for the politically correct out there. And you can just stand strong in your beliefs and in your values. Okay? And these are all lessons that I teach you on my premium Alpha Male Secrets channel. Okay, and the first month is only $1. Okay, it's only $1 for the entire first month of premium content. And it's real easy to sign up. All you need to do is click that link below in my description box. It will take you over to my website where you get signed up right now. It just takes 2 seconds. So do that now, and I will see you in my next coaching video. All right, at the house today, guys. Ooh, there goes a Firebird. There goes the TA, the Trans Am. And have a great day.